I guarantee you're going to be hearing some great information tonight, because tonight we're going to be talking about oil and gas. There's no one better to share this information with you tonight than the founder of Leland Energy, Steve Thompson. Now, with over 30 years in the business, he's done it all. And he's done lease acquisitions for drilling, field operations, oil and gas investments, you name it, he's done it. Because face it, we all read the paper every day, we see what's going on, so why don't we learn how we can profit from it? Let's bring him on up here, the founder of Leland Energy, Steve Thompson.
Thanks a lot. Warm welcome. Again, welcome to Las Vegas. Some of you have been here before to one of our events. A lot of you are brand new. And as our friend here said, it's an educational evening. That's really what it's designed for. We're firm believers that the resource industry is really the gold standard of the 21st century. And we want to do everything we can to make sure that people who are investors, people who look and strategize their investments, really take a hard look at the energy sector and make choices about getting involved. We have a theme here. It's called Your American Birthright, Investing in Oil and Gas. I was motivated to write this book really to get a message out, something that I've lived with for so many years and have a tendency to forget. And that is that a lot of people don't understand that the opportunity to invest or participate on any level in oil and gas ventures here in this country is very unique. I don't think it comes as any surprise to anybody in this room that effectively we have seen what we can consider to be the end of cheap oil and gas. The numbers we're seeing today will be inexpensive numbers 3 years down the road. August '05, it had risen to over $60 a barrel. It hit a record price of $78.40. I think today our price on oil was about 65 bucks. Well, we say on the next one, price of natural gas reached its highest level exceeding $15 twice in December of '05. Now, we had Katrina here in this country that did affect it, but however, what you want to keep in mind is Katrina is just an example of how these resources are impacted by world events, whether it's Katrina, whether it's somebody sinking a tanker in the Straits of Hormuz, whether there's a spike in the tension of the hostilities around the world. These all will generate a higher price, and you can either complain about it, we'll read about it, we'll all complain about it, we'll all be disappointed if there's bigger wars and more wars. At the same time, however, this product is being sold and it's being produced right here in this country. Might be a good idea to take advantage of that. The world's demand for oil and natural gas is close to exceeding supply. This is a very difficult concept to get our brains wrapped around. The supply, where is it? How much of it is there? Who's got it? How much more is there? How much more have we not discovered yet? These are all a lot of good questions. The truth of the matter is, we probably found most of the big fields that are on this planet today. But for what we believe are known fields, we're producing out of most of them today. Technology has gone a long way to doing two things. One, being able to really establish what are the parameters and the depths to an existing field. You get a much more finite picture of what do we have in the way of reserves. Not only that, but technology being brought to use in extraction. We are now able to extract more out of these reserves through the use of technology. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. Leland, in one form or fashion or another, has been involved in this industry for over 30 years. Point being is, in the last 15 years, you've seen segments of population and economies that have now come in to begin. They have to get into the table, the smorgasbord of natural resources on the planet, because they are now free market societies. And free markets depend on growth, economic growth. One of the engines that drives that is the oil and gas industry. U.S. and China combined currently import over 15 million barrels of oil daily. That's a lot of money. And that's what they're importing daily today. Somebody told me recently, and I've seen different facts and figures, you can pick whichever number you want, but China's GNP, its national growth rate, again, depending on where you want to look at it, will run anywhere from 8 to 12.5% annually over the last 3 years. That's huge. That's huge. You got over 1 billion people in that country. Those markets are opening up every day. Leland makes a tremendous effort to look around and develop natural gas. We work hard at the development of natural gas. We work on oil as well, but natural gas is something we like. It's something we pursue do a great deal, and we'll discuss that more later. Our world supplies. The world's hydrocarbon energy sources, oil, natural gas, and coal, are all finite. That's a simple concept to understand. It's there. It's been created naturally, and when it's gone, it's gone. Now, where and when that's going to happen, it's anybody's guess. Over the last 25 or 30 years, we have been finding less oil than we've been consuming. That is one of the few things that all conflicting parties find a consensus on. The challenge each year for the world is it consumes 3 times the amount of oil and gas than is newly discovered. Obviously, that's an easy one to figure out. The total of 51 oil-producing countries have hit peak oil production, and 6 more are on the brink. This means that they will produce a declining amount of oil year after year. Price of oil continues to rise, yet it is still a bargain compared to Coke, milk, or wine. I began to think this was a little dated, but we have some people in our organization that they enjoy little trivia things. Somebody came up with it, and the comparison to the same amount of Coke, milk, or wine is pretty cheap. I mean, $60 a barrel, you're not going to get a 55 gallons of wine for that, not any kind of good wine anyway. A select group of smart investors will get rich in the process. It's basic. It's supply and demand. You can look at it now, you can complain about it at the pump, or you can take a look and see how things are moving along and find a way to get involved. I am so proud of the U.S. economy because comparatively speaking, around the world, we are head and shoulders. We are robust, we're strong, and we're growing. Tax benefits. The most significant immediate long-term tax benefits virtually any investment marketplace with the exception of home ownership, just like we said. Home ownership is great. Uncle Sam gives us a benefit. You get to write off almost all of it because it's almost all of its interest in the first few years. So that's a great one. Other than that, the oil and gas industry, the lobby for the oil and gas industry has had a very cozy relationship with Washington, D.C. for many, many, many years. So there's a host of real tax benefits. They're valid, they're long-term, they're pretty entrenched. It's not something I think we have to worry about going away anytime soon. Experienced principals and premium leases make this a timely and unique opportunity. Well, we consider Leland and the people that Leland associates with experienced principals. We've been doing this for a while. We've cultivated relationships around the country. We have with us tonight, later on, when we have our nice dinner and we get to sit around and enjoy each other's company a little bit, you'll maybe meet some of the other folks. We've got Mr. John Habjam, who's with Valley Gas out in West Virginia. We've got Mr. Mike Brandstetter with Young Oil. We've got a lot of action with Young Oil in Tennessee and Kentucky. Mike is here. Later on, you'll get to meet him and chat with him a little bit. United States citizens are unique in their accessibility to oil and gas ventures throughout the world. Nowhere else offers individuals the opportunity to invest with limited capital. You do not see a meeting like this in the Middle East where somebody's sitting around and saying, how about you participate in the next 5 oil or gas wells we're going to drill? It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. And the money doesn't trickle down either. It's not like, well, the government keeps control of everything and then they take that revenue. Now, that's not to say that some don't. There's some of the Middle Eastern countries are the average income for the average citizen is like $125,000 a year. Kuwait, the standard of living, phenomenal. You got a small group of people with decent leadership who had foresight and saw, well, you know what? This is a resource. We're not going to let people invest in it, but we've got to give it back to the people because it's coming out of their ground. So you do have the exception to that rule. But as a general rule, most of the people in countries that do provide this resource, most of their population is poor. And when I say poor, I don't mean it's not because they don't have 2 cars or they have 1 car instead of 2. Dirt poor. Their kids die because they can't get clean water. Location is key to drilling and development of oil and gas reserves. Everything in the oil and gas industry starts with a piece of ground. It's very true. You got to have the dirt. And we've got a lot of states in this country that produce. While we look to make bigger plays, we don't overlook things that most companies will overlook. There was a time in our country down in Long Beach, California, where at 5 cents and 8 cents a barrel, people were becoming millionaires by the dozen. Leland, actively involved in oil and gas since 1976. Focus on development, ownership, and sale. Again, if it helps you a little bit, you kind of picture us as a developer. That's what we do. We develop the resource. We want to go to areas where the oil and gas has already been found. We want to cut the most economical deals we can on behalf of us and our partners, and we want to develop resources there. We want to keep the speculative nature down to a minimum. Conclusion, as chaotic as times may be, indeed in spite of, the world does and will continue to need and use oil and gas. It isn't going away. It's a limited opportunity worthy of your interest and participation. Energy-related investment, wisely placed, is a must in any investment portfolio. I want to remind you, if you look outside, if any of you want it, you'll see a book. The cover looks like this. It's got my name on it. If you want to get one of those, you're welcome to it. Thanks a lot, folks. Okay.